Is that everybody? Let's kick off. Hi, I'm Keith Ross Carroll. I'm a director of, they call me Director of Smart Spaces and Video City Intelligence for Hitachi Vantara across Asia. So our practice spans, as the title would suggest, across Asia. We have architects, business development, delivery capability in all Asian capacities. So today we're going to be a bit of a different story. We're not really talking about what's in the data center. We're not really talking about what's in Amazon. What we're talking about now is an ecosystem play with Amazon. Okay, because the typical problem with AWS is fantastic in the data center, second to none. How do you get your data in? How do you get your data out? How do you integrate with operational technologies? Okay, so everyone would have heard, no doubt, about IoT and billions of devices and all of the above. But the real question is, what's pragmatic? What's real? How do you take the data from the real world and translate it into and transfer it into the data center, where AWS, of course, second to fairly well known. So, what's the problem? It's quite straightforward, yeah? Server, compute, and storage. We need it at the edge. Of course, we love it in core. We love it when we have the data. It's a really easy play once it's in the data center. But how do you get it there? And of course, it's out in the field. Fragility is a problem, okay? Security is a problem. Liability, privacy problems, cost, right? It's all an issue. But really, the reality is, of course, as humans as we are, we want centralization, we want control, and we want adequate management in those cases. So, how do we achieve that? And that's what we do quite well. Okay, when we look at the city problem, we have quite a definitive and a variety, if you like, of different inputs and sources, okay? We need to think about all these different things. When we talk about city, we might talk about management. We also talk about safety. We talk about the enablement of the citizen. But there's so many different disparate solutions, products, inputs, sources, sensors, etc. And I'm not going to go into how each one of them is sourced, but the most important thing is that they are sourced and they are aggregated and presented appropriately. So how do we bring it all together and not only make sense of the data, but also make it quite available to your operators, to your command and control, and to your environment? Now, the cloud, it's an absolute play for the cloud, all right? Funnily enough, when you look at everything else around that, you look at lighting, you look at parking, transportation, I go on and on and on. It's the antithesis of cloud, right? It's the real world. But again, how to bring that back in, make sense of it, and aggregate it. That's what we do. We operate as that bridge. Okay, video analytics. Video analytics is a great play. It's we have a regular saying in Hitachi, it's just an analytic, right? So operationally, we need cameras in the right places. We need to look at different facets, different functions, different solutions to make sense of the operational world and add value back in the data center. Now, each one of these analytics that we provide, be it parking, I'm going to show you all these and show you some examples. Intrusion detection, object detection, traffic analysis, license plate readers, facial recognition. These all translate to JSON packets. JSON packets and real-time streams coming into hitting your web server, whatever it is. We tend to use a whole variety of plays, but it's all the usual players. Okay, it's Nginx, it's Apache, streaming in. We'll Node.js it into a database, bit of NoSQL like a Mongo, into Postgres, and then do with what you will. Okay, you'll normally take those analytics and you'll integrate it with existing operational systems, your line of business systems, your other external data sets, and make good sense of it. All right, that's the play. But a big part of video intelligence is prevention, right, versus reaction. Okay, and now there's a clear problem here. There's too many videos out there. All right, we used to, we want more. We used to, the availability of video was absolutely sublime. I think the current number in Singapore is about 49 active government, 49,000 active government cameras. Now, how do you make sense of all that? Okay, one eye or two eyes can normally set itself on 1, 2, 3 or 4 monitors for 20 minutes. After that, you lose 90% of your concentration, right? So if this was all video, If one operator, complete waste of time. Looks great. Doesn't it look great in the videos when you see those big walls? It's really cool, a lot of moving parts, etc. But the reality is, okay, an operator can't react to all that. They need to be alarmed, they need to be alerted. So certain things we might do is object detection in various scenarios. One here at the Buddha Head Shrine in Thailand, another one here at the palace in Thailand. These happen to be Thailand examples. A facial recognition, another object detection, right? These are quite pertinent because they are great examples of taking data from the operational world, bringing it into the IT world, but also would have prevented a terrorist attack, C4 explosion, taking out the palace wall, finding a terrorist in a crowded area, and you'll see some examples of that, and a very casual Australian leaving his bag at a palace wall. There's far too many Australians speaking today, isn't there? I do apologise for that. So when we look at what needs to happen to bring these different data sets together, we can orchestrate. We need to be able to take all these different feeds and ultimately make a play out of it, right? So the whole idea would be disparate data sets, bringing them together, real time, creating an operator experience. Sounds high security, doesn't it? That can also be in city intelligence. What if that was a garbage run real-time knowledge versus where the meters are in the city versus a water pipe versus versus real-time traffic conditions? You've got an operational answer. What if it was your queues in your service centres right around Singapore or right around your service channels across your entire organisation? Understanding which ones are busy, which ones are free, directing your customers to the right place. Right? That is the use of real-time operational technology. So let's have a look at some of the key analytics. Here's an example of facial recognition. It's not rocket science, and I've been expressed today this is somewhat commodity. I think we were a little while ago before this is really commodity. But the whole idea is there's so many use cases we can address. And again, the value we like to have is to be able to bring that into an operational sense, giving you real-time matches in the data center, being able to, in the data center, being able to provide an enrollment of an individual. Could be for a defensive mechanism. This one happens to be, maybe find a bad person in a crowd. It could be for good things. It could be, hey, find your best customer as they come through the door. Invite them in, welcome them in. Great to see you again, Keith. How's the kids? How's your son, oldest Lachlan, middle Nicholas, and youngest one Callum, and your wife Michelle? Right? It's all possible. The best case, whenever I go to Harvard and everyone talks about service management, the number one case they use on earth for service management, by the way, is raffles. And what happens at raffles is the driver would historically take you from the airport, drive you around Singapore, giving you a little bit of a tour, find out everything about you, pass a note to the person at the hotel, and say, "Oh, welcome, Mr. Ross Carroll. Great to see you. Fantastic." No, and service. I know you, right? So there's so many ways that these technologies support real life. If you look at the problem that you just saw there, it looked kind of simple. Just to give you an idea of some of the problems, right? The camera, I don't have a laser pointer here. The camera was 20 meters that way. The face match was back near this pole, and you saw that face running through that very busy area, right? So just to give you an idea of what it looks like to be able to set cameras right and be able to do this, it's not simple stuff, but that's what the experts are there for. You as an AWS consumer should expect that to happen. And then you as an AWS consumer should be able to use that. The service boundary is people such as us who work with integrators, etc. in the field, right? Other scenarios, this is a theft reduction. This is a little bit security oriented, but I hope you give an idea of what you could do in your own organizations. Being able to pick up organized crime. Someone comes in, steals something off a shelf. Hey, you don't get it straight away. You may or may not have an analytic that could describe someone stealing as opposed to just taking something off the shelf. But more importantly, after the stock take's done, you rewind and work out it was this face. You can enroll that face, and should that person turn up anywhere in your store network, you can choose something. You could either reject them, you could refer them to the authorities. Simple plays, right? Again, just use of operational technologies. Some video analytics. Again, here's some more high security examples. Here's the guy out there, by the way. Here's our terrorist going over, through a fence. You'll see an alert fire off. You'll see police all around him. Right? There's 6 or 7 police in that environment. We were there for about an hour, so the police stopped watching us. Right? It comes down to the automation has a value, and as we heard from an ex or a current CSO, sorry if you are or you aren't, the importance of having objective classification and objective alarming and alerting is quite key. The familiarization of one human to another is sometimes one of your best ways that you can achieve and allow certainly security incidents in all organizations. 75% plus are your partners. Your partners of your business are probably the perpetrators of the crime. So it gives you an idea of different things that are happening. Leave the bomb. Leave the bomb. It's a camera case. It's about that big. We're 30 meters away, and that may or may not get picked up by someone watching. The one on the bottom right, very hard to pick up. Didn't expect it to happen. I was very impressed it did. So lots of different scenarios. Intrusion detection is a good play. Being able to just have automatic fences. Again, this is good data to have. It's also very useful data. You could be mapping this around a factory floor. You could be mapping it around your service centers to see where are people going and what are they doing. Right? The other importance is, and that's what the cool lines represent, is it can't be a false positive. Hey, did everyone ever go to a corner store and all they had was an infrared, and then the little kid would just go like this and create the buzzer? Drive you crazy? Drive me crazy. In fact, I was the kid. So the whole idea of it is having an area where you can walk through, you must walk through and must egress out the other side, prevents a false positive. Right? So it makes it a higher value intrusion alert. Other scenarios, leaving a bag behind, quite a name. It's you wouldn't even notice it, right, if you weren't looking for it. Happens all the time in airports, happens all the time in different public areas. Right? It's again, automation and baselining, leveraging the deep learning that we have in these situations where we can learn the scene, see the difference, and be able to report on it is quite key. But it's not. They're operational problems. What about if we're trying to get some real-time operational information from traffic? Okay, here we have a simple situation where the traffic's been analysed. It's telling you how many cars, buses, bikes, etc. go past a place at any one given time. Now, that's one street. What about 1,000 streets? What about your entire city grid? What about correlating that to the weather, to the events, to the time of day, to being able to take that data over the last 2-3 years and drive predictive, prognostic, and prescriptive styles of analysis? That's where it gets very, very valuable. Okay? Simple problems such as counting. Again, in one particular spot may or may not be valuable. If you extend this across your entire service chain, it can be very valuable. Okay, indoor, outdoor, ingress, egresses of all your different plays. Happens to be helping a train station operation here. Could be a bus, could be anything transport, could be anything service, could be anything that has people. Okay, just other examples. Simple parking. I think the value of this is probably the non-obtrusive nature of this, right? It's a camera, it's hung. As long as it's put in the right spot, you get this information, right? And again, if you're a data analyst right now, or if you're a business intelligence, big data type of person, I don't know about you. That's my background. I find this really cool, because once you start correlating this with schedules, with student schedules, with visitor schedules, with HR records, with enrollment records, all of a sudden this adds value. How about if I had a license plate read at a university, and I knew it was me, and I'm just trying to think, Casey down the back is also doing the same course, right? And the student record knows that we live with only about 1 kilometre away from each other, and 3 days a week we happen to be going to university at the same time. What about an opt-in to say, hey Keith, just a reminder, you and Casey could carpool because she came in a car 10 minutes before you, right? So there's many different plays you can make once you have an operational understanding. Other plays, some more people counting there. Activity visualization. I always like visual because visual just I don't have to talk about it. It's there. It shows you. How has this mall really been used? How is this activity relate to what you thought when you were planning your space as to how you're going to use it? By the way, this pushes out data as a stream. Okay, you're getting multiple data sets behind the scenes as this unfolds. So, a simple queuing problem. Alert when the queue gets long. Right? Again, in one place, it's okay. Not bad. I can say, okay, well, I'm warning. Okay, someone quick rush down there and maybe open up another queue. What about across 1,000 service centers? Knowing that on average we have a peak problem. We have a probable scenario that when I look at the singular service center, what I will do is put a lot of people on in the middle of the day and I'll answer it, okay? Which of course is the poorest allocation of resources you could do. What if you predicted and understood what your loads are going to look like and started reallocating your customers to say, hey, you know what? A Google guesstimate plus a service weight estimate would have you better off going to Geylang as opposed to going into the city. It's actually going to be quicker for you to get your license done, your ticket purchased. And also, I could recommend you go at 2 in the afternoon. Don't go at lunchtime because everybody's there. It's actually quite well known. Whereby human nature would say, I've only got an hour. 12 o'clock from 1 o'clock's my hour, and therefore I'm going then. Right? So instead of turning up to the service center with everybody else in Singapore, what about going at a time that's nice and casual? Yeah, you can extend that by having scheduling systems and appointment systems and all of that, or do it online, remove the workflow. But there's always a transition, a transformation period in these scenarios. Last but not least, privacy is a very important thing. And of course, in sensitive scenarios, redaction is very important for video, especially for sharing video around for different means. If it becomes the lowest level of your drill down, saying, here's my people count totals, get down to the details of my people count, but of course, when I drill down further, I actually want to see the people walking through. That's actually the true drill down in that report, right? Right now, what we do is go down to a piece of data. What we really should be doing is actually watching Keith go through here. Oh, okay, yep, okay, definitely happened. Okay, but at the same time, we may not want to share everybody's face. We don't want to show children's identities. We may not want to show my identity next to the murderer on the news. Hence the redaction, which is the pixelation of the individual. So some of the more important aspects of video analytics, just to dive in to the operational side, is eliminating false positives. Okay, the reality is video itself is an inspection technology. When you're doing analytics on that, you want to minimize the likelihood of having problems or misrepresentations, as I mentioned before with intrusion detection. So when we look at pixel analysis versus object recognition, very, very different sports. It's like looking at something and trying to make a decision in this much space and dragging it over a piece of paper versus looking at the whole picture. In terms of reuse code, architecture, poor image quality, very, very important that we clean up video, that we stabilize video. Video can be in the wind, it can be in the snow, it can be in the rain. We need to be able to take those problems out of the mix to make it valuable. What usually happens is people install a camera on a nice, fine, sunny day, all right? And then when you come back and you see that you've had 10,000 alerts because you went through a monsoon or the first day of intense rain, not so valuable. And of course, once that's happened, people don't look at it anymore because it's not deemed to be credible. It's not deemed to have quality. And you never guess who that is. Why do they use that? Anyway. But the capability to remove individual identification is so key as well, right? The enablement to share. So gives you an idea here. I mean, I apologise, this is a bad example with snow, but snow's worse than rain. It's not so translucent. But an animal walking across a track in quite a hard snow area. And really, all we want to understand is, has a person walked past? Can we identify the person? So, oops, trigger happy. Let's get that going again. Yeah, okay. So what we can see here is we've discounted the size of the animal, we've filtered out the snow, and we've identified the person as the actual interested object that we want to search for, right? So you don't need, as a security or as a counting consultant, you don't need to worry about how many squirrels, mice, rats, or otherwise run through. It's probably more important to worry about the people. So hence that kind of filtration. At high rain, at high wind, it becomes very important to be able to do that stabilization. So image correction, good example. Someone being able to do it in the middle of the day is great. Guess what happens? You get the middle of the night, and you need to be able to do it at the same time. It's essentially pitch black. You wouldn't be able to see that if it wasn't an infrared camera. And then secondly, you can see there that that particular image has been somewhat corrupted. If you had to do inspection on that video, how would you achieve that? What we've done is taken a baseline and discounted whatever's blustering across the screen. You can see it's been picked up, but it hasn't been registered as a hit. Now here's just an example of wind. Here's a camera up on I think it's KLIA2. It sits up quite high. Input output's the most important thing. Camera's shaking like crazy. It's 40-50 knot wind blowing around. Probably shouldn't be flying anyway. But what we've done is look at the differential, look at the displacement. We've allowed for that, corrected it, and we've created a stable output. Okay. Not only doesn't drive the operator crazy, but also you can do some analytics with it. All right. Makes it possible. Okay. So some of the problems we go through. So more importantly, what do we do about the data integration around this? We normally will take the video intelligence, the analytics, and again, I said before, it's just an analytic. Let us work that out. IoT, take it through control, put quality in place, being able to run the appropriate gateway services. We have all that. Into Pentaho, data integration layers. I mean, there's so many data integration layers out there. We, of course, love our own. It's available in Marketplace and AWS. Integrate it with your line of business systems after you lake it, of course, and produce some actionable results. Provide insights. Nothing new, save the integration of the real world. So that back-end integration, I'm not going to do much of an ad for our data analytics. There's a lot of data analytics out there. Have a look at this one. It's very good for data integration. Visualization, there's a lot of data visualization tools out there as well. It's good, and there's some other really good ones out there. I think we're really saying the same thing here, other than the fact that by bringing in the data from a real-time video analytic provides such a different experience than analysing transactions. All you know is that Keith came in and bought a toothbrush, but you'd probably want to know that he came in with the intention of buying a loaf of bread, looked at 10 other products, and ultimately went out with a toothbrush. And there must be a big reason and differentiator as to why he did that. So just in wrapping up, other use case scenarios, you can bring together your city intelligence once you have the data. It's a no-brainer. Once you have these data sources, you can integrate and you can do big things. If you're a data analyst, you've done all this in different levels. Situations where retail intelligence integrating with, as I said before, transactions with the real-time activity that's happening in your stores, in your mall, in your service centre, if it's in a government scenario, absolutely key to driving driving good outcomes and understanding and reconciling with the real world. So I guess in just wrapping up, can't suggest strong enough that we should be looking at video analytics and other sources. IoT, we've spoken about it. It's every second word in IT at the moment, and that's all good. Has to be real, has to be solid, has to be pragmatic. I don't want to know how many eggs are in my kitchen. I really want to know that I'm safe, that I'm secure, that I've optimized my business and service channels. Looking at those service channels and being able to honestly see that in real time and be able to back that up with the actual reporting and the actual transactions that are occurring is such a strong, richer reality than just a report. And of course, most importantly, be able to display all that and be able to share it and collaborate with the right people to create actionable results. So on that, thank you very much. Any questions, please, we're out there at the booth the next hour or so, but thank you for listening. Really appreciate it.